Every day that you spend above the ground is the most amazing day ever. Hello, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Complacency Learning. As always, I'm your host, Ndivo Chivase. So when I'm talking about complacency learning, I'm not talking about just any show. I'm talking about the show that brings you the information, the kind of information that you need to actually help your child make informed career decisions. I'm talking about helping your child make their dreams a reality. So how do we do that? We actually source the legends from different career fields to come and share with us their experiences. I'm talking about the people that have already walked the path. In doing so, we believe that we're actually preparing our learners for the careers that lie ahead of them. So, and as they say, that children are born with an inherent need to learn. So let's make sure that we do not deny them that need, and let's make sure that they receive that need at their best satisfaction. And ladies and gentlemen, without wasting time, I'm just going to go ahead and introduce the individual that we have on today's episode. I'm talking about somebody that has achieved a lot. I mean, he's achieved what most of us wish we have achieved. I mean, he's been an inspiration. I mean, he helps teachers, become the best, deliver that content effectively and efficiently. I'm not talking about just any other person. I'm talking about a person who actually deserves the title, the doctor title. I mean, he worked for it at the end of the day, So, ladies and gentlemen, I'm gonna go ahead and welcome Dr. Ernest Mazibe, who's here to share with us about his experiences in creating the life that he truly loves. We believe that, guys, you're going to learn a lot from this. And without wasting time, let me advise you to actually go grab some popcorn so you can enjoy this episode, have it to your fullest. And I believe that the information that you're going to receive is going to be beneficial to you. And it's also going to help you in some way, just keep going, regardless of how hard it gets, So ladies and gentlemen, stay tight and enjoy such an amazing content that Dr. Ernest Mazibe has for us. Good day and welcome to another episode of Complacency Learning. How are you doing today, Dr. Mazibe?
I'm doing well, thank you very much. How are you doing?
They say every day that you make above the ground is a blessing, eh? So I'm just glad to be receiving those blessings, So it's an honor to have you on today's episode. I really cannot wait to hear what you have for us. I do believe that it's going to be such an amazing content. So before we actually dive into the first question, can I actually ask you to actually introduce yourself? Like, who is Dr. Mazibe? I'm not even saying Mr. Mazibe, I'm saying doctor, because there's a reason I'm saying doctor. I believe you earned it. You know what I'm saying? So who is Dr. Mazibe?
Well, first and foremost, thank you for inviting me. So Dr. Ernest Mazibe is a science educator or science teacher educator at the University of Pretoria. So basically, that's what I do pretty much every day. So I train future teachers. I research about teaching science, and that's basically who Dr. Mazibe is in a nutshell.
That's such a quite a great profile, eh? So you'll be teaching us, showing us how to actually, go in the field and do it proper, or do it effectively. Right. So without wasting time, I'm gonna go ahead and jump into the first question. Right. Obviously, in becoming the person that you are today, there's things that you wish you had known before you actually began with the career, right? That you only discovered once you were in the career. That if only you had learned about them before you actually started with your career, you feel like maybe you would have done things differently. So, which brings me to this question, right? What is the one thing that you wish you had known before you began your career?
In fact, if I can take you right at the beginning of it all. So when I started when I enrolled for education at the University of Pretoria back in 2009. Well, at first I didn't even think I would be a teacher one day, but I realized as time went by that this is what I want to do. I want to be a teacher. And to answer your question, I think what I would have loved to have known rather earlier is the whole complexity of social research. You know, there's a lot of ethics that is
mm,
involved when you're doing research that involves humans. And that is
mm,
something I really did not know about at the time
mm,
when I was enrolling for my master's. I think that's when my career actually sort of took off at master's level. And to answer your question, I would focus more on the master's journey. And that's when I've encountered things that I wish I had known earlier, particularly the complexity of science education research,
mm.
because it involves my type of research, of course, involves humans. So yeah.
Mm, You did mention that when you started with what you call this, the B.Ed, Bachelor of Education, you never thought you never saw yourself as a teacher. Why did you see yourself as, rather, if I may ask?
In fact, to be quite honest with you, you know, when you're good in science and math, you usually
Mm,
get told that you need to consider studying
mm,
fancy, according to
mm,
society, of course, fancy
mm,
qualifications like get a degree in engineering, uh, go and study medicine. Well, I wanted to study computer sciences. I was influenced by my teacher, one of my teachers at the
mm,
time. So when I got to the University of Pretoria, I thought, let me do education and
mm,
just use it as a stepping stone just to get into varsity. And then as time goes, I
mm,
will apply to move. But then later on, I met other people that inspired me differently and they made me stay.
mm.
And that's why I'm here today.
Mm-hmm. Looking back at the time you started at the University of Pretoria, I was just thinking that maybe like you're never gonna go that far. Like maybe you're just gonna, like most people do, just get a degree or an honors and then it ends there. But like what you're doing is really inspiring. I mean, it's really great. I mean, and for me to have an honor to, I mean for me to have a chance to speak to you, I have to say it's an honor actually. Right. So in becoming such an inspiring person as you are now, there's there's failure that you've encountered along the way. And at some point you probably felt like, you know what, maybe I should just give up. Maybe it's not for me. Or maybe, you know what, nah, no, I'm a tough soldier. Let me get up, and keep moving. And judging from where you are, well, I can say that you probably said to yourself, you know what, I'm gonna get up and keep moving regardless of this pain. I don't care how deep it gets, I don't care how much it becomes. Right. So which brings me to this question. What is the biggest failure that you've encountered and what did you learn from it?
Like I mentioned earlier, that I feel like my career really took off
Mm,
at master's level. Of course, I've been preparing
mm,
for that moment from the first time in fact, from as early as high school. But I think my biggest challenge was at master's level, like I've mentioned, that I wish I had known about the complexity of research, particularly the ethics that is involved in it.
mm,
Another thing that gave me a serious challenge was academic
mm,
writing. You know, the transition
mm,
from honors to masters, that
mhm,
was a bit hard for me because at honors level, there was an element of what we did at undergrad. So we still had to
mm,
write exams. So you needed to qualify
mm,
for an exam. But at master's level, it was completely different. There are no exams
mm,
there. You do not have
mm,
lecturers. I
mhm,
did research only. So I only had supervisors, two
mm,
supervisors, and all I had to do was just fine tune my writing, and that
mm,
was a bit hard. And
mm,
ultimately, it took me far long to finish a master's degree. It took me 3 years and three
mm,
months to put together a master's dissertation. And
mm,
that's one thing that I regard as one of the lowest points in my academic career.
mm,
But I've tried to make the best out of the situation. So what
mm,
I did is uh, the mistakes that saw me taking forever to finish a master's were
mm,
avoided when I started doing a PhD. For example, I
mm,
knew that I had to get my ethics application going as quickly as possible, and I did that when I was
mm,
doing a PhD. So basically, my PhD was me correcting the mistakes that I did in my master's that saw me take long to actually finish a master's. And because I've been working on overcoming the mistakes that I've made in my master's, I actually completed my PhD in less in quick time rather. That was 2 years and 10 months. So it was under 3
Yeah.
years. Whereas the
Wow.
master's took more than 3 years, the PhD
Yeah.
took less.
Mm,
Yeah.
mm, mm, mm. Wow, that's really great to hear. Like I mean, like I said before, like failures they can do two things to us. They can define us, or they can just break us, or they can just we can use them as a stepping stone. Like we can take them and apply them as an as what you call this part of learning, right? So
Learning
I
curve of
believe
some
that.
sort.
Yes, yes, definitely. Right. So, well, to those that would like to pursue the same career as the one that you're in, like I said, you've inspired me, and I believe that I'm not the only one who's inspired. There's a whole lot of other people that are inspired, right? So, to those that would love to follow the same career path, like the one that you're in right now, what advice can you give to them?
Well, I really believe that you have to love what you do. Okay.
Mm,
I love teaching. I love physics. I love
mm,
science in general, and I do believe that you have to love what you do. So of course, my piece of advice would also depend on the viewer who's watching the podcast. Um,
mm,
I really believe in creating future opportunities for yourself. So
yeah.
if you are currently busy with something, make sure that whatever it is that you are doing at that particular time actually prepares you for your future opportunities. And that is something that I did myself. So when I was in my undergrad, I prepared myself for honors by trying to get marks that will see me getting accepted for honors. Did the
Mm,
same thing at honors level, did the same
mm,
thing at masters, and
mm,
eventually got to PhD. So I think you have to love what you do
mm,
so that you will give it your all. The environment that you will give it your all that I'm in requires that you
mm,
dedicate most of your time to your academics. So you have
mm,
to read more,
mm,
you have to write more.
mm,
And in order for you to keep going, you need the love. So it actually comes from
mm,
within. You need to love what you do. And that way you will dedicate your time to your
mm,
academics, and eventually you will get a
mm,
PhD one day.
mm. Like I won't lie to you, that's a great advice. Like honestly, and you did mention that you need to read a lot, right? So which brings me to the next question that is based on the resources, right? Like I believe that in as part of growing, as part of reaching to your dreams, creating this journey that you truly love, right? So I believe there's resources that you've kept in touch with, right? Be it the internet, the journals, maybe people around you, right? So if I may ask you, what are the resources that best helped you become the person you are today?
I think that's a very interesting question, to be quite honest.
Mm,
I think some of the resources were of course humans.
mm,
Some of the resources were of course textbooks.
mm,
There's a textbook that I've been using, written by
mm,
Professor Cobus Marie. Used it in my earlier days in research, particularly at master's level. I think it explained most of the
mm,
concepts that I needed very
mm,
well. And that book was actually quite helpful for me, and I would recommend it to uh, researchers. If you're working in research and you want to know which approach to take, which research design to use in your study, that book explains different approaches in a concise way. So that book was quite
mm,
helpful for me. But I think credit must also go to my supervisors. I think I worked with the best supervisors. I know everyone
mm.
who not everyone, but many people would probably recommend their supervisors as the best. I mean, that's the only
Yeah.
supervisors I've ever worked with. So they
Mm,
were quite helpful in my academic journey.
mm, mm,
I have Professor Estelle Geiger, and I have Dr. Corinne Coutier. Uh,
mm,
they're very knowledgeable in the content itself,
mm,
in physics.
mm,
They know physics very well, but they also know
mm,
research, how to go about conducting research to generate new knowledge, to
mm,
sort of improve your understanding of how to best teach a topic, or how other people teach a topic. So
mm,
I think that book that I've mentioned was quite helpful. Okay.
mm,
But also my supervisors were actually even far more helpful. You know, a book has like fixed information, but supervisors are more flexible. They can respond to different questions on the spot rather than a book that you'll have to page up and find fixed information that pretty much stays the same for a long time.
And
So yeah, I
sometimes
think
you
my
get lost
supervisors, yeah. So I think my
because nobody likes
supervisors were
reading.
quite helpful. You
Sorry.
know?
Yeah.
Yes,
So your
absolutely.
super.
Yeah.
All right, you might not even like the question that I'm gonna bring up right now. Like you did mention that the supervisors were really helpful, of which I believe that they were not the only ones that were helpful to you, right? There were other people that have influenced you in some sort of way, right? So if I may ask you, who are those three people? Like if you could just give me maybe three people that have influenced you the most.
Can give you more. I think the thing is, if I'm limited to three, I feel like I may leave out some names that are quite
Some names.
huge. Um, the thing is, I draw inspiration from different different people. I don't only look up to those that are ahead of me. I look up to people that are ahead of me, people that are at the same level as me, people who are still coming towards where I am. And I remember back when I was in matric. Uh, in fact, when I was in grade 11, the end of 2007, I heard about uh, my neighbor who was in matric at the time, and she had just received her matric results. And her story was quite inspiring because she didn't do well in grade 11, but what she did in matric was quite amazing. And that was the starting point in my career. I think that was a defining moment. Her name is Mangele Mhlang. We grew up together, but she started earlier than I did. And that pushed me to start working hard when I got to matric because she made me realize that it's possible. I mean, like I've mentioned, she didn't do that well in grade 11, but what she did in matric was quite amazing. And that's the route I thought, let me take and see what happens. So when I got to matric, I started working harder. And when I got to varsity, I started hearing about, he was a doctor at the time, Lindelani Mnguni.
Oh yeah, I remember
He's
the one who was our lecturer. I mean, research lecturer. That's
that exact one.
yeah, I
He's now
remember him.
Professor. He's now Professor Mnguni. He
Wow.
inspired me. I mean, at the time we hardly spoke, you know, but I drew a lot of inspiration just by looking at him at a distance, watching him do his thing. I mean, he was lecturing us. He was young, and you could hear from the things that he said that he was more knowledgeable, and you could tell that he worked hard to get to that level, and that inspired me. It made me realize that you can actually get to that level, and you have to work. And like I mentioned earlier, I draw inspiration from different people, whether they are still at maybe at undergrad level even, or maybe they even professors. So I draw inspiration from different spheres. And there's guys I grew up with, friends of mine. I think their stories inspired me because they came from sort of harsh conditions, but they actually fought to get to where they are today. One of them is Bongani Sbambo. The other one is Alex Mabund. Those are my boys. I grew up with them, and seeing them work hard towards achieving their dreams was quite inspiring for me. And resilience actually inspires me, and seeing them fight through hardships was quite inspiring. So I think I gave you what, 4 names. Yeah.
It's quite interesting what you can learn from people, even to those that you never think you can learn something from. Hey, so what you just mentioned here is very important. I believe that everybody should, like, really look into this. I mean, we tend to think that, just because people, in terms of maybe academics, we tend to think that we cannot learn from the people that are below us, right? But below us, I'm talking about, let's say maybe you have a master's, somebody's only starting with a degree. You just feel like, okay, now there's nothing you can learn. I mean, I tell my kids every day that I'm here to learn from you, and you're here to learn from me. In other words, we're learning from each other. Don't just take it as if you are learning from me. Right. So that they would
That is
say,
powerful.
great, thank you. Looking
Yeah, that is powerful.
looking in terms of careers, they would people would say a lot of things about careers that some of them, most of them are actually false, right? So since we're both in the education field, I'm just gonna go ahead and use the one that related to education, right? So they would say, for example, that teachers, they just go into school to play or something. We just don't have so many, we don't put so many hours of work. You know, they say that we knock off early, we have these holidays and stuff, right? Forgetting about the admin that we need to sit at night doing. You know, I'm talking about marking the papers, I'm talking about lesson preparation. I mean, you have to plan to actually deliver that lesson to the learners, right? So if I may ask, looking at it in terms of your profession, where you actually help young teachers grow and become the better versions of themselves, right? So, what is the one myth about that that you would like to expose the falseness of?
Um, yeah, I think that is a very interesting question, to be quite honest, and I completely agree with what you've said. Um, I was a teacher myself, and I think society has actually boxed us into people who actually earn for doing pretty much nothing.
Mm,
That's what they think. They think we don't do much. We just stand in front of a class and we just talk and talk and talk and talk. But teaching has emotions. There are emotions attached to it. You know, you are human and you're working with humans. So the emotions attached there, and you are doing actually quite a lot. You have to be a lot of things when you're at school. I mean, you have to be a parent, and as a teacher you are actually a whole lot of things at once. Okay, and you're working with diverse with diverse learners. You're working with learners that are coming from different backgrounds. Okay, and you are one and they're many, and now you have to manage all those personalities at the same time. That's a lot of work.
It is. It is. It is. Like, I agree with you on
That
that
is a lot
one.
of work. Yeah,
Mm,
and people think that teaching is pretty much straightforward. I mean, my line of research actually exposes that, because I'm looking at PCK, which is the way a teacher transforms content into teachable forms. There's a lot of work that goes into transforming something and make it understandable to learners. And it all starts from planning. When do you plan? You have to plan earlier, and you use your time that is outside school hours. Sometimes you spend the whole day, you're teaching from 7:30 to 1400. You're busy teaching. There's no time. The only time you get is break. So when do you prepare? You prepare earlier. You prepare the night before. So I agree with you that that is one of the misconceptions that people have about teaching, and that's one thing we need to expose and let people know that we actually do work. We're putting a lot of effort into managing the different personalities, into making sure that the content is transformed into teachable forms. We have to assess our learners, and when we do our marking, we do it after school hours. So we basically work during school hours and after school hours, you know. And I think in teacher education, where I currently am, many people believe that being a lecturer is just easy. All you do is you stand in front of a class, you put slides on the screen, and you just read.
And you don't have to worry about expanded opportunities.
You don't have to worry about those things, you know. But in my personal experience, or from is that there's a whole lot of things that you do other than just standing in front of a class and teach. We do a lot of admin work. Like, I'm coordinating B.Ed honors programs. I do honors, they send me an email and they will ask me questions that I have to answer. So it means I have to know about the programs that we offer as well, in addition to just knowing the subject that I'm teaching. And the type of research that I do. So there's a lot of things that you have to do outside of just teaching and research. Okay, so those are some of the things that I would like people to be aware of, that there's actually a lot that is going on to being a teacher educator or a lecturer in general, than just standing in front of a class and just talking.
Well, you've already, like, I mean, you've laid down the foundations of teaching, like, I mean, what you just said now, it's what teaching is all about at the end of the day. I mean, and you even mentioned earlier that you have to love what you do. Otherwise, then what's going to happen is that you're going to have a whole lot of problem, in terms of, because they say if you don't love what you do, you feel forced. And when you feel forced, there's no way that you're going to perform at your level best. You know what I'm saying? So you need to really love what you do. I like the fact that you said that. Right. So, like, now I have to say that I've learned a lot from you, and still I am learning. I just wish you could just
I
go on and
appreciate
on
that.
and on and on forever. Right?
I appreciate that. Thank you very much.
Thank you. So I believe that also there's people that would like to connect with you, based on what you're sharing with us, what you've achieved. I mean, you're an inspiration to many. So to those that would like to connect with you, how can they do that online?
I mean, I can share my handles. I can share my Twitter handle, although it's full of football tweets. I love football. So in my spare time, I would be chilling at home, and I would be on 2 or 3. Like now we have the Euros, and I would be watching that. But they can follow me on Twitter. It's at Dr Mazibe. It's Dr Mazen rather. It's at DRMAZZEN. And then I'm also on Instagram, but my handle is different from that on Twitter. So it's at _MAZZ706 on Instagram. And then on Facebook, it's just Ernest Maz, MAZZ. Yeah, those are the 3 social platforms that I'm actively on.
I'll make sure also that I put them at the bottom of the screen, Right.
Not a problem. Thank you.
Thank you. I try to ask the best questions possible. I do believe that maybe there's a question that you would have loved for me to ask that I did not. Right. So, which brings me to this question. If I may ask, what is the one thing that you wish? No. What am I asking now? What is the one thing that you would have loved for me to ask you that I did not?
Perhaps maybe, yeah. This is an interesting question. What is it I would like to share with the viewers? I think maybe if I can just share of being a teacher educator from my experience, especially the transition from teaching in high school and lecturing at university. What I've noticed is that there's a shift in responsibility. So when you are in high school, the responsibility lies with you. So you have to follow learners around and beg them to submit tasks, but when you get into lecturing, it all switches up, Yeah. So now you have to, the students are chasing you, because it matters most. They are now grown, they're now working towards getting their degrees. And your module is part of the modules that they have to pass in order to get that degree. So they have to chase you. They send you emails. In high school, it's a different story. You have to beg the learners, and here the students have to beg you. So that is, at least that is nice. I think that's one thing that I've noticed, and I've sort of appreciated when I got into lecturing, because when I was in high school teaching, I had to chase learners around and get them to submit their work. But then in research also, I think what is quite interesting that I would like to share is how fulfilling it is, to know that you have sort of generated some knowledge that may be used out there. I mean, there's a lady at the University of Witwatersrand. We are using her model in our research. I think she's probably very proud of that, because our research is based on her model. So imagine having to create something that significant that people actually use for various reasons. So I think with research, there's the satisfaction that comes with research is also quite significant. And that's one thing I would really like to share, that if you're interested in doing research, getting a PhD, just know that you're going to produce something new at PhD level. And that is very fascinating, the satisfaction that you get that I've created this, and now this and this one is using it. I mean, if you write articles
Amazing.
and your paper gets cited, and now you just look at your Google Scholar page and you're like, oh, people are actually reading my work. So I'm actually
Yeah,
contributing to something that makes me sleep
yeah,
at night.
yeah,
That's quite
yeah.
interesting. So yeah.
Mm. When you mentioned that, at school, yes, you need to chase after those learners. And it can be frustrating sometimes, especially when you're trying to meet the deadlines, right? So, and then varsity, what made me laugh was the fact that when you said like at varsity, you chase the learners. I remember we would chase the learners, like begging and pleading, please, man.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we did
Yeah.
that, yeah.
Yeah. It was quite interesting. Like I miss those days. I mean, it was quite interesting, and so now, well, that was part of learning, I believe, right? And speaking of learning,
It was.
speaking of learning, I believe that learning, it's how can I put it? I believe it's a process. I mean, if I should say, right? You need to be determined. You need to know what you're going to get out of it, right? You need to even understand why you're doing it in the first place, right? So, like most people would think that, they can learn something maybe in just a week, something that you can learn in maybe a year, of which, like I believe it's an illusion that they create in the mind, right? Because at the end of the day, like I said, you need to be determined, you need to have that passion, you need to have the drive, right? You need to understand that from you learning, that means that you're not gonna be the same person as you were before, because I mean that information that you're gonna learn, I mean, be it through interactions with people or reading or studying and stuff like that, right? It kind of like has an impact on us, right? So if I may ask you, what does the word learning mean to you?
It means empowering yourself, like if you learn, you
Mm,
basically empower yourself. You sort of
mm,
make yourself a better person. I really believe in understanding things, especially as someone who likes science. I really love understanding how things work, the
mm,
things that I see around me every day. So I really do believe that learning is about empowering yourself. I mean, how do we get to know? We read, we listen, we watch, we observe. Those are the activities that we do pretty much every day. And by engaging in those activities, we are learning. And by learning, we are actually empowering ourselves. So I really do believe that learning is important. And uh, I would advocate that we should all take it seriously. I mean, I'm not talking about learning in the academic sense only, but learning about the job that you are doing, learning about the skill that you have, how to improve that skill that you have, whether it's fixing cars or just keep learning and develop yourself and become a better person in that field that you are in. It doesn't have to be academics. I always advocate academics because that's the field I'm in. But when I talk about learning, I'm talking in the general sense. Just keep improving yourself, improve your craft, improve your skill, improve your art, improve what you do, and you will see that you will be rewarded.
mm, mm.
I believe
I
you will be
believe
rewarded.
Great, great. I agree with that, and I believe that we learn from the date that we're born. Like for example, look at a baby who has never seen a flame, right? If you put up a flame in front of that baby is going to want to touch it, right? But as soon as that baby realizes that no, this is hot, next time you put it on, you're gonna get a different reaction, like trying to blow it off, which means that the baby has learned. So that's how we learn at the end of
Experience
the
is the
day.
best
Yeah,
teacher.
true,
Yeah,
and they
they
say
say
that.
experience is the best teacher.
Yeah, yes, and they say also experience can teach you something that nobody can teach you. Sometimes you just have to
Yeah,
go
yeah, yeah.
through
You
it
can't
yourself.
replace
Yeah,
experience.
Yeah, but you can learn from other people's mistakes so that at least you can try and minimize those mistakes. You know what I'm saying? Right. And just not
Yeah.
maybe go into the den of lions knowing that they're going to eat you. You know what I'm saying? Right.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah.
yeah. I mean, it's been a great content that you've been sharing with us. Like, I really appreciate it, and I really enjoyed it. Actually, I believe that I'm not the only one who's enjoying this content. I believe there's a whole lot of other people that are going to enjoy it, right? So before I actually send you off, can I ask if there's anything that you would like to leave us with? Maybe be it a quote or a saying or something that you've read or heard. You know.
Yeah, I think the quote that has shaped me is
Mm.
grab an opportunity of a lifetime in a lifetime of the opportunity.
Wow.
Uh, and
Mm.
my understanding of that quote is an opportunity is something that has a lifetime. Okay, so it
Mm.
gets born,
Mm.
it matures, and then it dies.
Mm.
Um, and if you happen to get that opportunity, then you have to grab it, in its
Mm.
lifetime.
Mm.
It's an
Mm.
opportunity of a lifetime. It has a
Mm.
lifetime. You have to grab it in its lifetime, because once the
Mm.
lifetime is gone, that
It's
opportunity
gone.
is gone. Okay,
Mm.
so I think that's basically what I've been doing all my life. So with every opportunity that I got, I grabbed
Mm.
it with both hands. But
Mm.
I do extend that quote by saying, when you are in that opportunity, you have to create others.
Mm.
So
Mm.
you grab an opportunity of a lifetime, but your life doesn't end there, right? There's
Mm.
things that you want to achieve further. So you use that
Mm.
opportunity to create those future opportunities.
Mm.
You are
Mm.
doing honors. You use your honors to create an opportunity to get into masters. That's
Mm.
basically what I mean. You get into masters. That's an opportunity of a lifetime. You grabbed it.
Mm.
You enrolled. You are studying
Mm.
towards your master's degree. You are
Mm.
grabbing that opportunity, but use
Mm.
it to create opportunities for things that are yet to come. For example, a PhD, if that's what you want to get after the masters. So that's the
Mm.
quote I would like to leave you with.
Mm. 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 And I don't know if you've heard of Les Brown, right? I mean, I have to say first, it's a beautiful quote, right? I don't know if you've heard of Les Brown. Have you heard of him? Right. So,
No.
speaking of opportunities, he did say that it's better to be prepared for an opportunity and not get one than to not be prepared and get one. Because once you get that opportunity and you're not prepared, you are not even gonna realize that it's an opportunity. Like, for example, let's look at the people that are getting all this money unexpectedly, and then they blow it. Next thing you see them on TV, I blew it all. And you know what they say? They say it's easy to regret things after they're done. I mean, imagine regretting because you had an opportunity and you didn't realize it was an opportunity, and now you're hoping that you get another opportunity, and chances are that if you don't keep learning, when that other opportunity comes, you might not also still not realize that it's an opportunity. Do you get what I'm saying? Right. So I'm
Absolutely.
really I'm really glad that you mentioned that, because I mean, at the end of the day, we need to realize opportunities, and like you said, once you realize an opportunity, you get onto it and create more and more opportunities, and now that we've come to the end of today's episode, I know that we live in a very busy world, that we hardly have time to actually, sit and educate people, especially if we're not getting paid, But because of the love that we have, which is the love to teach, the love to see, to help others, and take what you call this, when you, as a teacher, you look at your children, you teach them, and as they succeed in life, you become proud of them and you become proud of yourself as well. Because I mean, at the end of the day, without you, well, I'm not saying that they wouldn't have been successful, but chances are they not wouldn't be at the same point, because there's not none other like you. You know what I'm saying? So I just want to say it's been an honor to have you in today's episode, and I really gained valuable insights when it comes to um, actually reaching out for the life that you truly love, going at it, like regardless of what comes your way, and that everything, if like you said that with your honors, masters, it took like longer than the PhD. Right, so you had to shorten it because you had learned from the masters, right? So yeah. So other than that, I just want to say, although I cannot thank you enough, I really want to say thanks a lot, on behalf of the company, on behalf of our listeners, on behalf of everybody that gets a chance to actually, be as much touched as possible, like the way I am. Because I mean, I learned a lot. I'm never the same. Like, I'm not the same as when I came before the interaction, So
Yeah, no,
yeah.
Thank you very much for having me, and I would like to commend you on having created such a platform. You know,
Mm,
I believe that it's necessary to have such talks where someone who has walked the journey can actually share with people who would also like to walk it. You know, so
mm,
I'm very grateful to have been given this opportunity. So thank you for inviting me and uh, being patient, you know, when I struggled to find time to
mm.
come and share my experience. But I finally made time and I'm here. And thank you. I'm
Yeah.
really grateful for the opportunity. And I hope
Mm.
what I have shared would inspire the next person.
Yeah, well, as for me, it's not a matter of hoping, it's a matter of definite. It's definitely going to. my
Thank
former
you.
my former principal used to say to
Thank you. I
me that,
appreciate it.
no, you're welcome. My former principal used to say to me, never ever say the word hopefully. Say definitely, because
Mhm.
when you say hopefully, you thinking that there's a chance that it's not going to go the way that you want it to. But when you say
I
definitely,
like that.
you're saying that, hey, you have to happen, it has to be like this no matter what. I'm not giving you
Yeah.
any reason not to. I mean, that's
I like that.
yeah, I mean, nothing comes
Okay,
easy. I
no.
think you realize that, eh? Yeah,
Yeah.
but thanks a lot, and we'll keep in touch. I really don't need to say how amazing today's episode was. I mean, you've heard it for yourself. You've heard it from Dr. Ernest Mazibe, who actually shared such an amazing content with us. And I believe that a lot of you would like to actually get in touch with him. So if you'd like to do so, please do so at the details provided at the bottom of the screen. And in doing so, ladies and gentlemen, please remember to like and subscribe so you are notified when a new episode is posted. This means that you do not miss any episode that we post, so you stay up to date. Ladies and gentlemen, and without wasting time, allow for me to wish safety upon you. I know we're living in difficult times right now, and I just want to urge each and every one of you to actually, take the safety precautions. Let's slow the spread of COVID-19, guys, and keep safe. We know what to do. Keep the mask on, sanitize your hands. The rest, if you don't know, well, ask the ones who know. And I'll see you next time with another brand new episode. And until then, stay tuned for more episodes to come.